Do you feel like you've exhausted all of the Canadian credit card options out there? Perhaps you've gone through all of the once-in-a-lifetime welcome bonuses and you're wondering what's next. And then at the same time, you're seeing that down in the US, there's crazy eye-watering bonuses like 100% transfer bonus from Bilt Rewards to Alaska Airlines, or regular transfer bonuses of 20%, 30%, or even 40% from Amex, Chase, and Capital One over to the popular loyalty programs like Aeroplan, British Airways Avios, and Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. Welcome to Prince of Travel, we're the leading platform empowering every global citizen to go further better, and this video is for some of the pros or the more advanced folks in the credit card game here in Canada. Once you've wrapped up the Canadian credit card game, maybe you're feeling a bit bored of what's available north of the border. What's next? US credit cards is the answer, and in this video we're going to give you all the tools you need. Plus, we're going to talk about an additional benefit to getting US credit cards that can be easy to overlook, but a game changer once you get it done set up right. But before that, let's start with the most important question: do you actually need a US credit card? Now, in Canada, the number of airline programs that you can meaningfully engage with is limited. After all, we've only got 2 major airlines, whereas in the US, there's at least 4. Now, we all love Air Canada's Aeroplan, but that's just one major loyalty program in Canada, and WestJet Rewards just isn't too competitive at the end of the day. Meanwhile, down in the US, there's a far larger credit card market thanks to the many banks that serve its 330 million customers, and the banks are always trying to one-up each other in terms of putting out new and compelling welcome bonuses and benefits in order to attract new business. For example, the Chase Aeroplan card in the US offers automatic 25K status within the Aeroplan Elite program, and that's not offered by any Canadian credit card at all. Meanwhile, the Amex Bonvoy Brilliant in the US offers instant platinum status, which again is not a perk that any Canadian-issued Marriott Bonvoy credit card even comes close to being able to offer. And what's more, many of the US banks have deeper ties with a wider range of airline loyalty programs that we don't have as easy access to in Canada, like Alaska Airlines Mileage Plan, or Turkish Airlines Miles and Smiles, or Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. And having a wider portfolio of points across a wider range of airlines gives you more options when it comes time to redeem, and allows you to not be stuck with any particular airline or alliance when you're trying to book a flight. So now that we've identified the need for US credit cards, let's talk about the process of actually getting them. Now, first of all, we have to be clear that in order to get US credit cards, that necessarily means establishing ties of some kind to the United States. And the full implications of that are a little bit beyond the scope of this video, or indeed this channel where we talk about travel rewards. It's very much a nuanced topic that, depending on your situation, may warrant consulting with an international tax, accounting, or legal professional. So if that's the case, make sure you undergo those steps and then come back to the rest of this video for the tactical process for actually getting into the US credit card market. Now, the first step to setting up those ties and getting a US credit card is going to be finding a US residential address that you can use. This address is where all of your correspondence and your mail and your bills from the banks are going to be sent to via the postal system. Now, if you have friends or family in the US who are willing to receive mail on your behalf, then that's a wonderful solution. Otherwise, if you don't want to impose, there's also the option of using a mail forwarding or mailbox service for these purposes. These services are typically set up in the border towns and provide the service of receiving the mail on your behalf and forwarding it to you in Canada. And one service that we've had good experiences with and recommend, which you can find at 247parcel.com. Now, getting a mail forwarding service set up can be quite a nuanced process, so if you'd like to know more, then check out the link in the description below for a full guide on the topic. Now for step 2. After you've gone set up with a US address, it's time to set up a US bank account. You'll need this for 2 reasons. Number 1, you'll need a bank account that you can use to pay off your credit cards that you get in the US. And number 2, a bank account is going to be useful for verifying your address with the banks when you apply for a credit card. Now, thankfully for Canadians, it's relatively easy to set up a US domiciled bank account because many of our major banks in Canada have US counterparts or subsidiaries that are designed for this very specific purpose. If you bank in Canada with RBC, TD, BMO, or CIBC, then there's going to be pretty easy cross-border solutions that you can use to set up a bank account with RBC US, TD Bank, BMO Harris, or CIBC US. I'd invite you to simply go to the cross-border banking page on the websites for these banks and look at what their services entail. Make sure you're looking for a US domiciled bank account, not just a US dollar bank account in Canada, because those are 2 different things. You want the US domiciled bank account, and you want to attach the US address that you've gotten set up as your address for that bank account so they can then use your bank statements to verify the address when you sign up for credit cards. Typically, the banks also make it easy to transfer funds between your Canadian side and your US side if you're already banking with them in Canada, so that's another bonus. And now for step 3, which is the most exciting part. After you've set up your address in your bank account, it's time to get a US credit card. Now, the easiest issuer to start with in terms of your credit card journey is going to be American Express, because if you're already a cardholder in Canada, then you can take advantage of American Express's international program called Global Transfer, which lets you get started with an American Express credit card in a different jurisdiction as you're establishing ties on the basis of an existing American Express relationship in your home country. So in this case, if you already hold a Canadian-issued American Express card for at least 3 months' time, then you're eligible for the global transfer process and you can get started with your first US-issued American Express. You'll want to call the global transfer office and tell them you'd like to do a global transfer as a current Canadian cardholder to a US credit card, and then proceed to complete the US credit card application over the phone. And since you're applying as part of a global transfer, you can use a foreign ID like a passport in lieu of a social security number, which you may not have. Now at this point, you might be wondering, which US-issued American Express card should I actually choose as my first? And we'll share with you the 2 different strategies that you can employ to make this decision. Strategy 1 is to open a card with no annual fee or a low annual fee so that you can keep it open for a long time and build your US credit history without being burdened with an annual fee year after year. Examples of this might include the Amex Everyday Credit Card, which gives you 10,000 membership rewards points as a welcome bonus and up to 2 times points earnings on groceries, or the Amex Hilton Honors Card, which is a no-fee Hilton card that gets you access to the Hilton Honors loyalty program and opens up some doors for hotel redemptions with no annual fee. Now, the second higher-end strategy is to open a premium credit card that may come with an annual fee, but whose benefits you can take advantage of year after year, especially if you know you'll be traveling a lot. Examples here might be the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant Credit Card, which gives you instant platinum elite status with Marriott Bonvoy just for holding the card, as well as a free night award worth up to 85,000 points year after year, or perhaps the Hilton Honors Aspire Card, which gives you automatic diamond status with Hilton Honors, a free night award every year, and a slew of other perks that will really help elevate your travels. Both of these cards have higher annual fees, but they may be worthwhile depending on your travel style. Now, the key thing to keep in mind is that your first US credit card is going to be the foundation on which your entire US credit history will be built, so you want to keep this card open for a long time, which is why you might want to consider the no-fee option if you're just dipping your toes into the market. And another really important thing to keep in mind with American Express US in particular is family language restrictions. Sometimes when you get a card, you'll disqualify yourself from the welcome bonus on other cards within that family, and so you'll want to really research your options and apply for cards in the right order. If you want to know more about this, check out our link in the description below, which takes you to an article that we've written that walks you through the whole thing. And likewise, check out the application links in the description if you're ready to apply for a card. Using the links helps to support us and the content we create for you and the community. Now, while getting your first US credit card with American Express is relatively easy, it's going to be a little bit of a longer road to get other US credit cards, especially those with other issuers like Chase, Capital One, and Citi. That's because whereas American Express allows global applicants to apply for their first US card on the basis of outside jurisdiction relationships, Chase, Capital, and Citi require you to have either a social security number or an individual taxpayer identification number in order to apply for their cards. And getting either one of these identifier numbers for yourself when you don't already have one is going to be another form of establishing US ties, which again we must emphasize is a personal decision that may well encompass factors outside of just credit cards and travel. If you do want to apply for one of these identifier numbers though, the ITIN is definitely going to be much easier to get compared to the social security number, because after all, the social is geared towards those who live or work or study in the US, whereas the ITIN is geared towards foreign residents who need to report US earnings to the IRS. And if you've ever gambled in Las Vegas or sold something on Amazon.com, then you may well have US earnings that you should report to the IRS, making you eligible to apply for an ITIN. In order to apply, you'll need to fill out the IRS W-7 form, which is available on their website, as well as instructions for filling it out. You'll need to be meticulous and detailed because any little error could result in your application being declined. And then what you'll need to do is to mail this form alongside either your original passport copy or certified copies of your passport that you can get at the passport office, or you can visit an IRS office in person yourself to submit your application and then wait 4 to 6 weeks for your ITIN application to be approved. It's quite a cumbersome process, and to dig more into the nuances, you can check out our full guide in the description below. But safe to say, it's not necessarily going to be a walk in the park, but again, depending on your situation, the travel rewards that lie on the other side of being eligible for Chase, Capital One, and Citi cards could well be worth the effort that's required here. And that brings us to the final phase, which is letting your US credit history grow and mature. Typically, it takes about 12 to 18 months after you've gotten your first US credit card when most issuers are going to be happy to approve you for even more products, including some of the premium travel credit cards in the market. And this is only the case, by the way, if you're consistent about paying off your bills on time and in full. So definitely keep that in mind and keep your credit activity prim and proper, just like you would do in Canada. When you get to 12 to 18 months, and you can always consider going down to the States and opening, say, a Chase Chase bank account to accelerate this process, but once you get there and you're eligible for more of these cards, that's when the rewards really open up. You'll have access to some of the most powerful credit card and loyalty programs in all of North America, like Chase Ultimate Rewards, for example, or Capital One Miles, or Citi Thank You Points as well. These programs have 11, 15, and 14 airline transfer partners respectively, and they each have 3 hotel transfer partners that you can convert your points to, and these open up a much wider range of redemption possibilities and sweet spots that you can take advantage of, such as Virgin Atlantic flying clubs and the sweet spot for redeeming for ANA first class and business class, or Turkish Airlines miles and smiles, and how you can redeem for cheap domestic awards within the United States, or even World of Hyatt, which is really difficult for us to earn points in Canada, but once you have higher points through Chase Ultimate Rewards, that opens up a whole range of aspirational hotel redemptions that are definitely worth aiming for, like Park Hyatt New York or Alila Ventana Big Sur. And once you've gotten to this stage and you can take your pick of such a wide range of credit cards that you can apply for to unlock more travel possibilities, there's one credit card in particular that will help you fly first class just by getting this one card. It's one of the most powerful cards in the whole US market. You'll want to watch this video to find out about which card it is and the step-by-step for how you can use that card to book your first class flight. I'll see you in that video.